Hi everyone, on today's episode of Everything Music, we're going to talk about how to reharmonize a blues. Okay, so what I have up here is a standard 12-bar blues that you're probably all used to if you play rock music or play blues. It's simply F for 4 bars, and then it goes to the 4 chord on the 5th bar. Now the 4 chord on the 5th bar is really the definition of a blues. The blues is any tune that starts typically on a tonic and goes to the 4 chord in the 5th bar. So this is going to be our basic harmonization of a blues here. So it's 1 for 4 bars, the 4 chord for 2 bars, back to the 1 chord for 2 bars, 5 chord 1 bar, 4 chord 1 bar, 1 chord for 2 bars, and the pattern repeats, okay? Now we're going to talk about how jazz players reharmonize blues here, okay? Now, with jazz, what we do is we start to add chords in here. We keep some of the basic elements the same. I mean, pretty much that is going to stay the same. But we start adding in other chords, like for example, B flat 7 here. Back to F7 here. And then typically you'll do a 2-5 to the 4 chord, okay? Now, there's many other possibilities here. Like, it's very common in jazz to put a passing diminished chord here. Now, if you do a passing diminished chord on B diminished, you typically go F7 over C so that the bass movement works correctly. And then here, you're going to add a transition to go here, because here we're going to go to the 2 chord. In jazz, typically, in this bar, you will go to the 2 chord. Then you go to the 5 chord here. Okay, so here I'm going to put a transition, which will be A minor 7 flat 5 to D7 flat 9. That is a minor 2-5 in the key of G minor. Then we get 2, 5, 1. And then it's typical to go 1, 6, then 2 5s. G minor 7, C7. Okay? That is a more jazz-oriented blues. There are other places where we can add chords. For example, right here. It's typical to go to a B diminished before you go back to F7. Well, if you go to B diminished, you go to F7 there, then I'm going to go to C minor 7 to F7 here. C minor 7, F7. That is very typical of a blues, okay? You can still have the same pattern here and down here as well. That would be another variation of it. Another variation could be a bird blues or an altered blues. Okay, the next blues we're going to talk about is called an altered blues or a Charlie Parker blues. It's the chord progression to Blues for Alice, okay? It starts on F major 7 instead of F7, and it goes F major 7, then it does a 2-5 into D minor, okay? This is the 2 chord to the 5 chord in D minor, but then it's a 2-5 going in C major, so that D minor has 2 different functions. And then a 2-5 in B flat to the 4 chord in the 5th bar, like we always have. But then it does a series of 2-5s by half steps, starting on the 4th degree, okay, in the measure after, in the 6th bar, okay? And it goes 2-5 in A flat, 2-5 in G, 2-5 in G flat, and then it goes G minor 7 to the 2 chord in F, to the 5 chord in F, and then it does 3-6-2-5. Now, on the turnaround, we have many different possibilities here. We can do A minor 7. We can also do A7. That's very common to do. We can make this G7. Okay? That's where I'm substituting the chord quality. Instead of a minor, I'm using a dominant 7. We can make this A flat 7 as a tritone sub for D7. We can do the same for C7. We can make this a tritone sub and go G flat 7. That's another thing. So you got A7, A flat, G7, G flat 7. Okay, so you got 2 tritone subs here. Tritone sub here for D7, tritone sub here for F7. Okay? You can also have F7 here. You can go F7, which is very common to do, to A flat 7 to G7 to G flat 7. Okay? You can do, frankly, if you saw my last video with Wes in Days of Wine and Roses, you can go F7 to D7 sharp 9 to D flat major 7, which is a really cool sound, to C7 flat 9. You could change this chord if you want to an A flat 13, let's say, which is really A flat 7, but so that then you have a 5-1 cadence there. Before, when I had the D7 there, that was acting as a tritone sub to this, okay, because the normal chord would be A flat. So that's a different possibility there. There's many different possibilities on turnarounds. But your typical one, though, that you're going to have in Blues for Alice is A minor 7, or you can go A minor 7 flat 5 to D7 flat 9, to G minor 7, to C7, I'll say flat 9. The reason I did A minor 7 flat 5 is because that actually gives a little stronger cadence to the G minor 7 chord, because this is a minor 2-5 in G minor. You always want to look for those things that actually drive you to the next resolution point, any type of cadence. The next blues we're going to talk about is what I call a cycle blues. We're going to start off with the cycle, which is 5 of 5 of 5 of 5 of 5, going around the circle of fifths with all resolving dominant chords. Now, our intersecting chord we're going to have is B flat 7. So I'm going to want to put an F7 right here. We're going to do 2 beats of each dominant chord. So I already know that if you start a half step above the root of the dominant chord and start the cycle there on F sharp 7, because we're in the key of F, right? And then resolve to B7, to E7, to A7, to D7, to G7, to C7, F7, B flat 7. Now, a common substitute, a different one, would be to go to the flat 7 as a turnaround back to the tonic, the flat 7 dominant chord to F7 right here, right? Now, in here, I'm going to go A minor 7 flat 5 to D7 flat 9. I'm going to go G minor 7, C7 in one bar here, okay, because I'm going to do something different in the next bar, C7. Then I'm going to do I'm going to put my F7 chord here, because that's the target chord here, but I'm going to do a tritone sub. So I'm going to go C sharp minor 7 to F sharp 7, right? This is a half step away from here, so it's a tritone sub, so I'm doing the 5 of a tritone sub. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go A flat 7, which is going to resolve to D flat 7, which is the same as C sharp 7, to G flat 7. Okay, that's a 5 of that. Okay, so we'll do A flat 7 flat 9, or altered, whatever it might be, to D flat 7 to G7, and then we're going to come back to F7. So I want you to remember this. Every time you're going around and playing a chorus, you're going to be playing a different chord progression and superimposing it over what the other guys are doing. If you have a hip bass player and a hip piano player, they're going to follow you. They're going to hear it. They go, oh, he's in the cycle. They'll catch it in the first. Once you play that F7 arpeggio to B7, anybody with a good ear is going to hear that. He's going to go, oh, he's doing the cycle. And they'll immediately jump in on the E, and they'll play E, A, D, G, C, F, and hit the B flat. And then they're going to say, where's he going next? Is he going to the flat 7? Yeah, okay, and he's back to the tonic there. So this is another great reharmonization. Our next blues reharm is going to have even more advanced chord changes, where I have the Coltrane Changes in here. Now, I start them in the second bar, typically in a tune like Tune Up, that Countdown was based on, where the Coltrane Changes were. They start in it with a 2-5-1 in the key of D, so E minor 7 for a bar, A7 for a bar, D major 7 for 2 bars. And they go E minor 7, then they start the Coltrane Changes on F7. They move up a half step and start the 5-1 cadences. So F7, B flat 7, and so on and so forth. So what I've done here is I've done the same thing here with this F7 having this pivot note here, this pivot chord to resolve the B flat 7. So I'm looking at that cadence. So I'm looking ahead, predicting where this is going to come down. So you got to think like a chess player almost. So I got my 5 to or 1 chord to 5 chord. It's really a 5-1 cadence here, though, if you think about this 4 chord being 1 chord. The other thing with this is that I can change this, and we can call this twoing the 5. Twoing the 5 is when you play C minor 7 to F7, and this is very typical in blues. In bebop, is to actually play the first bar as a 2-5, C minor 7 to F7, instead of just thinking F7 for 4 bars. You hear people like West do this all the time, Charlie Parker, Coltrane, you name it. They put a 2 chord and a 5 chord together in the first bar. So they're thinking C minor 7 to F7, and then B flat major 7. Then we start the Coltrane Changes here. We go B flat, major 7, and then up a minor third. Well, you could say it's up to D flat if you'd like, but I say C sharp to F sharp major. And then up a minor third to A. So it's a 5-1 cadence here. Then you have a 5-1 cadence here. Then you go up from D to F, which is a minor third up, and then you land on the 4 chord right here, right? On the B flat 7. Then I have B diminished 7, F7 over C, back to B flat 7, and then a descending 2-5. You got 2-5 in G, 2-5 in G flat. Then I got G minor 7 here, which is very typical that you would have. And then I start the Coltrane changes again right here. So I move up a half step and I do a 5-1 cadence. Move up a minor third, do a 5-1 cadence. So D flat to E is a minor third up. Move up a minor third from A flat to C, do a 5-1 cadence to F major 7 instead of F. And then I do a quick 2-5 to get me back to the top, which in this case could be F7 again at the top. Now, each time you go through the blues, you can be reharmonizing in a different way. The first time you can do a straight blues. The second time you can do a cycle blues. The third time you can do a Coltrane Changes blues. You can do a modal blues. Every time you go through, you can reharmonize a different way. All you need to do is have a band that has the ears where they can hear that you're doing these different harmonizations of them. Okay, the next blues we're going to look at, we're going to start, instead of starting out with F7 in the first bar, we're going to do a 2-5. So we're going to 2 the 5. We're going to do C minor 7 to F7. Okay? Then we go to B flat 7, B diminished 7 as a passing tone, up to C minor 7 to F7 again. Now, instead of going from F7 here, we're going to do a tritone sub. So I'm going to put a half step above here. I'm going to do the tritone sub of B7. And I'm going to 2 the 5, as we say, putting a 2 chord, F sharp minor 7 before the B7. Then we go here to the B flat 7, that's the 4 chord. This bar then, we're going to do a substitute E flat 7, the flat 7 substitute, but we're going to 2 that. So we're going to put B flat minor 7 here, right? Just like Blues for Alice does the same thing. Then we're going to go to A flat major 7. Then we're going to do then we'll do A minor 7 and D7 flat 9. And then here we're going to do this, we're going to start the cycle. So instead of going A to D to G minor 7, we're going to do G7. And we're going to do a quick cycling. G7, C7, F7, B flat 7. And then that B flat 7 is going to be a tritone sub to A7. On the turnaround, okay, A7, A flat 7, G7, G flat 7, back to the top. So we have a few tritone substitutes in here. We got one here. We've got one here. Where is it? Right here is a tritone sub. We have one here too. Those are all tritone substitutes. So once again, 2ing the 5, this is the thing. You got to think of this 1 chord as really a 5 chord. Very common for bebop players to play a 2-5 sound in the first bar, resolving to here. This will make your line sound really interesting if you just follow these changes and you're playing over the standard blues changes. You solo, pretend like you're just soloing over this progression, and it'll sound incredibly hip. So those of you that want to get even more modern, what we have to do is start altering even the 4 chord, which I've done in this. This is a much more modern blues that you would play if you were really hip, okay? Start out F7 sus4. Or you can start F sus4 even. I got no problem with that. Either one's good. B flat Lydian over F, that's like an F Ionian sound, okay? G add 9 over F, that's an F Lydian sound. A add 9 over F is an F Lydian augmented sound. So this is modal mixture in the key of F. So you're implying F over these first 4 bars and you're going through different modal sounds. This is what you call modal blues. And instead of resolving to the B flat here, my sub for B flat is A flat major 7 sharp 5. Well, the flat 7 major 7 sharp 5, or you could do A flat major 7 flat 5, frankly, as a sub for B flat 7, as we know that's a sub. Then A flat sus 4 over G flat, try these out. Then resolution down to the tonic back here, F sus 4, and then we do a quick a bitonal measure here with G major over D flat, going to F sharp major over D, and down to A over B flat, which is a B flat tonic diminished sound, okay? And then you're going to go to A flat sus4 over C, which is really C altered. These are the notes from C altered, but it's a much more modern sounding voicing. And if you're implying this in your solo, it's going to sound hip. And then our turnaround is going to be more of a modal turnaround. F sus4, A flat sus4 over F, which is an F Aeolian sound. G flat over F, which is F Phrygian sound, then to C altered. Try these out, they sound killer. Okay, the next blues is much more modern sounding. This is really, really kind of advanced harmony. But if you play the chords, it's going to sound like a blues to you still. Okay, so what am I doing here? Well, E flat major 7 flat 5 is actually just a sub for F7, all right? D minor 11 flat 5 is really a sub for B flat 7, but it sounds really different. And if you play these changes over these chords, if you actually play these arpeggios even over these chords, it's going to sound cool. But here's where it gets a little different. A minor 11, D7 sharp 9 sharp 5, and do them in that specific order, to F minor 9 11. That's a really cool, interesting turn of events here. Now, you know how I say the 4 chord is a blues? You have to go to the 4 chord in the 5th bar. Well, F minor is the 2 chord of the 5 chord of B flat 7. Okay, so basically we're implying an F Dorian sound here as a sub for B flat 7. Then we have E major 7 sharp 5. Okay, so this is really a sub for F sharp 7, which is a tritone sub of the next chord, which is F7. Okay, I have F7 sus4, but this is a tritone sub. This is a substitute chord for this. So this leads really nicely into this. To E flat minor major 7, which of course is a sub for D7 altered because it's out of the E flat melodic minor scale. Then down here, F major 7 sus4 over D. Check it out. It sounds cool. It's a sub for G minor 7. This is out of the G Dorian scale, or it's out of the D Aeolian scale. Then F sharp major over C, which again is C altered as C7 flat 5 flat 9, and then I have a bitonal turnaround. E flat major over B, E major over G, F sharp major over E, G major over E flat, back to boom, F7, or however you like to do it. I would go back to F7 then because I just played that E flat sound there. This is a much more modern sounding blues. Okay, this last blues is the most modern one. It's what I call a pedal blues, where you start out with a pedal, with an F pedal on the tonic. Okay, so you notice F is in the bass of the first 4 bars. So I've got E add 9 over F, going to A add 9 over F, going to F sharp major over F, or G flat over F, to B major over F. You notice the cadences, E to A, okay, as if you're going a 5 to 1, and then F sharp B, you're going 5 to 1. Well, that happens to the ear when you hear those triads moving like that. Your lines are going to sound really hip over that pedal point. And then you get right here to an F7 flat 9 flat 5 chord, which is a perfect resolution to B flat 7. Now, the reason that I have a straight B flat 7 there is because after you play this, you need some grounding if it's going to still sound like blues. So you hit a B flat 7 or B flat 13 chord here, and it's going to sound like blues because it's going to the 4 chord in the 5th bar. Then I go to E major 7 sharp 5, which is really a sub for F sharp 7, which is a tritone sub of F7. Okay? E flat major 7 flat 5 is a sub for F7. Okay, so I'm moving down by half step, tritone sub to there, but you're still implying the same thing. If the bass player's playing, just the standard blues over this, it's going to sound cool if you're comping those changes. Then you go to E flat minor major 7, which is really a sub for D7 altered because it's from the E flat melodic minor scale. Down here, we have a new chord symbol here that I haven't introduced yet, but I'm going to introduce it now. I've used this for 30 years, but I haven't talked about it yet because I don't want to confuse you. F quartal plus. What does that mean? F quartal augmented. Okay, that means the notes F, B flat, E. This is an inversion of a B flat Lydian triad, okay? But I want a particular voicing over this, which is going to give me a G minor 13 sound. So that I have the person play the exact voicing I want them to play F, B flat, E. If I put F Q, it would mean F quartal. That means F, B flat, E flat. If I do F Q plus, it means F, B flat, E natural. Okay, because you have the augmented fourth. Then we go to F sharp over C, which is C altered. And then my turnaround has a C pedal on it, which is B flat over C, which is a C11, to a C Phrygian, D flat over C, A flat sus4 over C, which is really C altered, and then F sharp major over C, which is still C altered. This is a pedal point blues. You play this, you solo over this, and your guys in your band are playing a straight F blues. This is going to sound great. You're going to sound like you're Michael Brecker, and it sounds like this. That's all for now. Please subscribe here to my Everything Music YouTube channel. And if you're interested in the Beato book, which has all this kind of stuff in it, write me at rickbeato1@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.